My name is Day9.
My name is indeed Husky.
It is time for the StarCraft 2 GeForce Pro-Am presented by NVIDIA, and there are only 3 players remaining in that Pro half. One of them is the man causing lag from Germany. It is alternate attacks aTnDarKFoRcE. I think a lot of people were surprised to see him obliterate some of the best names in the tournament all throughout the winner's bracket, only falling to MMA. But his opponent is going to be none other than everyone from 4chan, Anonymous. No, that's right. No, you got trolled. This is IMMvp.
Yes. Now, I was going to make a horrible joke. Yours was already beating me to it. I was going to say, we don't know who the third place player is right here, but it is indeed MVP, the third player in the top 3. So it is going to be a TVZ. So that means in the finals, we are guaranteed either another TVZ or a TVT. Protoss have been stomped out completely. And it does look like Metalopolis is going to be map number 1, spawning cross positions here. And Sean, why don't you talk about aTnDarKFoRcE a little bit and his run in the GSPA? He's made it pretty darn far.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to be able to get to the winner's bracket final, taking out a number of top Koreans and foreigners. He did get 3-0'd by MMA, and that was one of the series that did get casted, so a lot of people kind of have that fresh in their minds. But aTnDarKFoRcE has been putting up incredible results in this matchup, taking out TSL Alive at the North American Star League Finals. I think that's where he got his big splash onto the scene. He plays an extremely slow, methodical Terran vs. Zerg style. His trademark move is incredible creep spread and creep coverage, not just towards the opponent, but also along his own main. MVP, on the other hand, he's the man who absolutely never loses units unless he has to. You'll rarely see him suiciding in, taking unnecessary risks. You'll also see him rarely taking any damage from any of the usual types of harassments.
Yeah, and also I've seen aTnDarKFoRcE spread his creep, like you were mentioning, towards his opponent and also his expansions and all that. I've also seen him spread it into where it would seem like nowhere, but it just allows him to get those huge counterattacks, the huge surrounds, and he just covers literally the entire map in creep. I've seen him do it before, and judging by these spawn locations where both lanes of attack are going to be a valid option, I wouldn't be surprised to see that out of him. Now he is going to be opening up with pretty standard stuff. He's getting his hatchery, finishing up that spawning pool, and we do see MVP going for that bunker behind the mineral line, which is always super, super frustrating to deal with, but shouldn't be too bad as it is pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, you know, I really think that aTnDarKFoRcE is just not overreacting at all to this, which is obviously what you want to do. But with 2 drones alone, there is actually going to be a Marine coming up there. Uh-oh, did he actually underreact to this? He's trying to work away at that 1 SCV. He's getting awfully close to finishing that bunker, but it looks like...
Oh, the SCV on the far left corner. Oh, no, is he not going to be able to kill it?
Oh,
this could be big for our Terran player, MVP. Can the Marine get inside? The Zergling's trying to get the surround, and the Marine nice and comfortable in his own home. And in typical LA fashion, is going to be shooting out of his windows at all of his neighbors. And it looks like the hatchery is going to be in danger. Sorry, I have to make LA jokes because I live here now. And might be able to take this out, though. That is quite a few links. Gonna salvage it. Do you think this is worth it for MVP?
Oh, beyond worth it, because MVP is more than happy to take damage from that initial attack. MVP is more than happy to lose a lot of minerals, so that way he can be in open space where the Hellions can really shine. The Hellion control of MVP is just bar none the best in the world, period. I don't care what you say. I don't care if your brother plays nothing but Hellion Wars use map setting game. Your brother sucks compared to IMMvp. For instance, getting the spine crawler up, getting that drone count high, all things you really want to have kind of done already. But now we do see these Hellions moving out through the middle of the map. We see Willie begin getting stemmed soon. That is kind of traditional transition at this point. But MVP is not unseen, going for very fast tanks as well.
Oh my god, that spine crawler finishing at literally the last possible second to prevent those Hellions from running into the natural. It does look like they'll take the slightly longer route. Queen's a little bit faster on creep, which means he can get this in position to defend. It does look like the spine crawler has slightly moved. That is kind of a risky maneuver, but he seems to not like the positioning that he originally had. This will help him guard the ramp a little bit more, and is now powering drones. We do see 7 drones on the way, as well as that blue flame Hellion upgrade, which, while it did take a nerf bat to the face by reducing the damage, it's still pretty darn good if you have 4 Hellions shooting at drones.
Yeah, I mean, it's less about drone killing and more about unit killing now as you get to play. kill Zerglings in 2 hits instead of 3 still. And now it looks like, uh-oh. I mean, look at this. Not going to suicide in, not going to take any risks at all with those Hellions. Just going to try to do guaranteed damage. He's more than happy to do 10 guaranteed damage than take a big risk to get 100 damage.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's so far living up to what you were saying, Sean. Keeping those units alive, I can't tell you how many Terran players would commit there and try and get a lucky shot on the drones, but I mean, sometimes there's just not a reason to take huge risks at this situation in the game, especially if you're confident in your abilities to micro, macro, long-term, and all of that, which MVP, if there's a player who's going to be experienced, it is him. We do see a Roach Warren on the way now out of DarkFoRcE and also an additional Spinecrawler. Any thoughts on this Roach Warren, Sean?
You know, this is honestly, I think, a response to a lot of pressure where players say, well, I'm going to build a Roach Warren just in case. I kind of don't want to build that many Roaches, but I will if I really have to, because right now, if we actually take a look at the DarkFoRcE cam, oh, he actually does see the second factory. Oh, my mistake. I thought that he had not seen that yet. This makes a lot more sense. He actually can make Roaches comfortably now, because this is probably going to be the best way for him to secure that third base. But, I mean, MVP still looking for more opportunities to weasel his way in, and he is moving back to the backside, an unusual commitment for MVP, and it looks like he might end up paying dearly for it. Oh, DarkFoRcE crushing this force of Hellions with that Roach Lane. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why you don't have to take risks with those Hellions early on, because that can happen so easily.
And also, our Terran player has been making like non-stop Hellions. He has 3 that just got in that medevac. He has 3 more on the way. Maybe going for a Blue Flame Hellion drop. This is always a good way to get yourself back in the game. The Overlord is going to spot, though. You got to remember that DarkFoRcE does have a lot of units on the field. We saw a lot of Lings, a lot of Roaches. So here comes the attack right now. Are the Lings in position to defend it? Wants to make sure not to take too many drone hits, but the drones are not lining up. They're just continuing their daily mine routine and are once again going to clean it up there. So far his defense has been exactly what he needs.
Looks like Anonymous, a.k.a. MVP, not quite making the big strides forward that he wants to, but let's still take a look at that worker count. Amazingly, Terran is even with the Zerg at this point in the game. That is very, very difficult to do. And it looks like these Hellions, I mean, if you think about it with mech, the units that you really want a lot of are tanks. So in a sense, building all these Hellions is just an expenditure of minerals. So no problem, I'm going to just throw minerals at you, accept the losses, so that way I can slowly get my tank count higher and higher, and it looks like MVP might have that trademark incredibly spot-on timing. But he is still using these Hellions and medevacs to do as much harassment as he can.
Yeah, now it does look like the drone's trying to get out of there. Needs to be careful outside of his natural. There is no defense here. He has no mining going on right now, as these drones just really do not have a safe place to mine. And it does look like the Hellion harassment is going to continue here. Keeps loading them inside the medevac. Will even keep the medevac alive. And this is a really crucial time for the Zerg player to be mining, because the Spire is nearly done. You need all the gas you can get. And we don't really see a lot of anti-air out of our Zerg players, so we may be losing a couple of Overlords here. So I feel like MVP playing so smart, you're trying to keep the Zerg on edge and keeping his base as long as possible.
And just keeping him in the dark, I love that. You see that there's 2 factories with Tech Lab in the main, can begin doing tank double time production. The one Viking still hanging out at the backside, while these Blue Flame Hellions are still just rip-roaring all over the place. But he's got to be careful, because if that dies, and that is going to be very embarrassing. And MVP, oh my gosh, he is actually investing in high-sec auto-tracking from this engineering bay.
Huh, that's actually really interesting, especially since Mutalisks are going to be on the field soon. Is that Queen going to spawn in time to kill that medevac? Oh, just missing the party. She slept in, wasn't able to get to the kill the medevac party. But we do see that our Terran player, while he does have his 3rd command center up and running, now turning into an orbital, doesn't quite have the map control to warrant taking that expo just yet. And again, the high-sec auto-tracking, I don't know if I've seen it this early before, but thinking about it, it's kind of smart. It makes defending against Mutalisks so much easier.
And again, I mean, if you're thinking, how do I best defend against Mutas? Well, again, I don't need minerals that much as a meching player. Sure, Hellions are great, but I mean, the difference between 10 Hellions and 20 Hellions, especially when everything's clustered up, is not as good an effect as having the extra tanks. So spending minerals on turrets, spending just a teens of extra gas on that range, and even the ship, or excuse me, the building armor is very, very strong against Mutalisks.
And you can see he actually almost took out one Muta, getting another one down to half HP, just so smart getting that upgrade. Would be surprised to see Terran players do that a lot more in the future. And just look at the range on that. Almost able to get a free Mutalisk there with that upgrade alone. And I like it. I really like that he's doing this. This is going to allow him to move out from his own base. He doesn't have to rush towards getting the Thors. He does already have 2 Thors right there. And so right now, his defense is going to be fine. Mech players' defense tends to be fine because you are able to get Thors and siege tanks. But so far, I think this is a really good response.
Ate a huge hit right there and did not see the extra command center go down. Will likely be building a sensor tower. Up there it is to help cover this area. But we're seeing DarkFoRcE get himself a ridiculously fast Hive. There's 2 evolution chambers. Wow, he's getting Hive before upgrades, getting that pathogen gland. He loves slow, methodical play. He loves the Corruptor, Broodlord, and Fester. That is his trademark mixture. He wants to get there. But will he have enough time? You know, it doesn't really look like MVP wants to attack anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the production tab, we see even more factories going down, so he's not even switching into any sort of Marine or Marauder to hit a timing. Does look like he'll take some damage on his Hellions, but the Mutalisks are forced to clean up the Marines instead. One Roach like there saying, guys, there is a massive amount of Hellions now headed towards you. It does look like the expansion may be okay. Here's enough Roaches here to hold this one off. But again, these do not cost a lot, especially at this point in the game. We're at 15.5 minutes, so you can afford to lose a couple Hellions here and there. And especially since our Zerg player, as we were mentioning, trying to get up to those super high-tech units. And right now he's hovering, or he was hovering 1,700 minerals. So I'm curious to see what he decides to get. It looks like it may be Broodlords fairly soon.
We also see Zerglings getting upgraded. Look at this, a Blue Flame Hellion drop, just doing big damage at the natural expansion, popping back over here to the main. With that +1 attack upgrade, Blue Flame Hellions do kill drones in 2 shots. So suddenly they're about 50% more efficient against those drones. And in the... Wow, 24 workers killed. I actually kind of would have expected that to be higher considering how many Hellions have been lost. In fact, if I look at the unit's loss station, it is a lot more loss for MVP than loss for DarkFoRcE.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And a Terran player, like we were saying before, may not necessarily need to take those huge risks in the beginning. They did not pay off in that situation. These Mutos need to be careful. As tempting as it is to kill Hellions that cannot shoot you, the Thors can. And that is something you absolutely have to look out for. So expect right now our Zerg player to be powering out units, but our Terran is going to be hitting a time when the Zerg is just finishing a couple of upgrades. And does he have that much stuff, though, because his Great Spire is not quite done yet? He's most likely going to be losing a hatchery. That may actually go down before the Burrow Tech finishes.
That just sucks so bad. And now we do see the small force of DarkFoRcE trying to move around to pick off this command center, but it looks like DarkFoRcE is going to use bases immediately.
Yeah, I think the timing is really smart. It's hitting right before the Broodlords get out. We saw a lot of Corruptors being morphed in, but only 2 Broodlords on the way. And the thing about this is, it is so tempting as a Zerg to get Broodlords, although it does look like he's got to be running inside the natural. Can he clean up these tanks? This is a lot of tanks, and they do have pretty decent upgrades. The Viking's going to land here to clean this one up. But as I was saying, it's so tempting to rush towards Broodlords in a meching situation. Good game!
Wow!
The reason that Broodlords are so good is because the Thors are really the only anti-air, and Thors virtually worthless versus well spread out Broodlords. But I just feel, really what the problem was is he got those Broodlords way too quickly.
Yeah, and I mean, the Broodlords, as you see, did not even get the chance to participate in anything.
Yeah.
At all. Fantastic play by our good friend IMMvp. That puts him up 1-0. He needs to win only 2 more games to advance to the finals against MMA. Let's find out what happens right after this.